Arsenal 2, West Ham 2, and the fight to win this title for Arsenal goes on. But I have to say this, I think today it was a bottle job from Arsenal. I think it was, and I'm reluctant to say that. I think a lot of people rejoice and enjoy saying that, but I'm reluctant to say that because I think the season they've had has been incredible and still remains incredible. But in the context of the league, Man City are now massive favourites to win it. 4 point gap for Arsenal, game in hand for Man City. That brings it down to a point, and then that game at Etihad, if they win that, I think it's curtains. Arsenal have got to prepare themselves for the Etihad, and they've got to play the perfect game. They've got to win that, really. They certainly can't lose it. That is Arsenal's season, really. All they've worked for, all they've done, they have to get it right against the Etihad, because if they don't, and a lot of people expect they won't, then all their hard work will just end up with second place. And maybe Arsenal will be happy with that. Ultimately, on reflection, maybe Arsenal will be happy with that, because they've not done a lot wrong in a title race. The problem is, if you want to win a title these days, you've almost got to get 95 points. And if Arsenal don't get 95 points, then you probably won't win the league. So it's massively disappointing, but also they didn't lose today. They didn't lose last week. And I think the Anfield one is really difficult. You're 2-0 up, they score, they had loads of chances, a draw was the right result. West Ham, though, that is a bottle job. I'm sorry, we all have bad results in a season, but that is a bottle job because you're 2-0 up after 10 minutes. You're playing West Ham, who played on Thursday. They're a crap side. Most of their fans want Moyes gone. They're not a good side. So to lose a 2-0 lead against a team like that and draw 2-2, miss a penalty as well, miss a couple of sitters, it's just, it's not justifiable. Arteta can come out and say what he likes, but it's not Anfield, it's not Liverpool, it's West Ham, and you were 2-0 up. If they were 2-0 up and you get back to 2-2, you say, well, look, we made mistakes, but we showed character. That's just 2 points just flushed down the toilet from Arsenal. And you can't afford to do it at this stage of the season. I mean, you look at their running. Chelsea at home, okay, you'd expect to win that, but Newcastle away, they've got Brighton at home. There's some difficult games for Arsenal still, even beyond Man City. It's looking increasingly difficult for them to do it. And look, I'm not going to change my opinion. I think Arsenal have had an incredible season. It's remarkable what they've done, the consistency, the amount of games they've won. They've only lost 3 games all season. They've been the best team in the league to this point. Right now, if you're handing out the Premier League, you'd give it to Arsenal. They've been the best team. But it doesn't matter if you're the best team for 90% of the season. It's who wins it at the end. And Man City at the moment, they're coming up fast. They've got the momentum. They're playing fantastically well at the right time. And I don't want to use a cliche, but it's the same old story. It's a long season. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And it really helps if you've run the race before. Arsenal have never run this before. Man City have. They're peaking in the Champions League, they're peaking in the FA Cup, and they're peaking in the Premier League, and it's not by accident. They're rich. They've got the best manager in the world. They've got a superb squad, and they've run this track so many times. They know it. They know about pacing. You think about a marathon. Arsenal at the moment, I still think they've got the energy to run a good race. But Man City have got more than the energy to win a good race. They've kept something back. They know in that last couple of months you need to keep something back so that you can really sprint. And they're sprinting. I think Arsenal are sprinting, but Man City have just got that energy reserve. And look, I hope Arsenal still win it. I don't want Man City to win a treble, and I don't want them to win 3 Premier Leagues in a row, because that equals United's record in both ways. But I do fear for Arsenal now. I think they're back in the underdogs role, even though they've got the points. They've got to not get beat at the Etihad. It's as simple as that. And if they can win at the Etihad, even better. But it's a tough place to go. The crowd, there will be a crowd at that game. Refereeing decisions. Look, I could throw petrol on the fire and say, look, Arsenal should have 2 more points than they lost today anyway, because it's ridiculous. I mean, we talk about Brighton, but the reality is Arsenal should have 2 more points, and the only reason they don't is because a linesman forgot to draw a line. I mean, that, you talk about potential charges against Man City, which people want to find out one way or the other. We're not going to find that out for the title race. That's, that should be swept away. But 2 points that Arsenal don't have because a referee forgot to draw a line, I mean, that needs to be on everybody's mind if Man City win the title by 2 points or a point. This will be the season. If Brighton don't get top 4 by 3 points, you look at the Matoma penalty against Spurs. There are a couple of decisions in this season that have been disgraceful. But Man City, Arsenal are fighting for this title race. Arsenal are still fighting. They are still fighting. But today it was a bottle job. And sometimes you have to put your hands up in the air. And I'm sure Arteta and the players will do it. And I'm sure Arsenal fans will do it. They bottled it today. They bottled it at the worst time. But I remember United, you've got Blackburn away with 3 or 4 games to go. You're in a title race and you're like, Blackburn are down there and it's at Ewood Park and you're like, we should be winning this 3 or 4-0. You end up drawing and you're like looking at your rival going, oh shit, what are they doing? And then they go and drop silly points. We're in that area now where it isn't actually out of the ordinary. West Ham are in a relegation battle. Arsenal are in a title race. Last few games of the season, surprise, surprise, it's a draw. The problem is, since Man City became dominant, they're capable, and I've been saying this for a few weeks, Man City are capable of winning their last 10 games in a row. It's horrendous if you're trying to fight them. Liverpool have been victim of this. It's abnormal, but they are capable of doing that. Years ago, it didn't happen. You would get top of the table drawing against West Ham in a relegation fight because that's what happens, because it gets really competitive and people play above their levels and people get nervous and stuff. But Man City have took this title race thing to a whole new level because they've got such strength in depth. They've got such quality in depth that they're just a machine. They go into machine mode and nobody can live with them. And that's what Arsenal are up against. And the only solace is, and I don't think there is any solace for Arsenal, is that you've had an amazing season. Nobody predicted you'd get top 4, really. Title race, no one. You're in a title race. You didn't lose today. But when you're up against something like the juggernaut that's Man City, it's so hard to keep the pace because they are relentlessly unbelievable at win. They've set a target that's pretty much unachievable for clubs like Arsenal who don't have those resources or experience. And yet here Arsenal still are. The fight goes on. But they're going to have to get something at the Etihad. They're going to have to not get beat at the Etihad. And most people will predict that Man City will win. I will, because it's logical. But it's not over for Arsenal, despite this today. Get your comments in below. What are your thoughts? Smash a like on the video and subscribe. I'll speak to you on the next one.